Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence, we go up to the wrong side because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here. How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's gonna be fun.
I remember a time when Republicans were very careful about and worried about the government, particularly unelected people.
We can't trust the government anymore.
Having access to personal data.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You are the government.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I remember a time when Republicans were very careful about and worried about the government, particularly unelected people.
We can't trust the government anymore.
Having access to personal data.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You are the government.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Ladies and gentlemen, it does not get old. That is the ICE Barbie, if you don't know, acting head of ICE and Department of Homeland Security. Why would she be surprised that, yes, you are the government, and yes, you can't be trusted? We've proven that already. Today's date, January 14, 2026. This is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan on the Frack We Got Here. We do take the events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. Before we get started, guys, let you know that we are a news podcast. We do pride ourselves on being reputable with sources that only do award-winning journalism and research and proper reporting. We don't do sensational news like Fox News, The Beast, The Daily Beast, though whatever extreme left, extreme right you get your views from, we simply don't do that. At the same time, guys, there may be things that might be shown that might be too intense for young viewers, especially with language, because it's probably going to get used tonight, which may be too intense for younger viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So before we get into the BS that's happened the majority of this week so far, we do want to honor a civil rights icon that passed away that a lot of people may not know about.
Remembering civil rights legend Claudette Colvin. She died yesterday and she was 86 years old. Colvin was just 15 when she was arrested in 1955 for refusing to give up her seat on a segregated bus in Montgomery, Alabama. She, along with pioneers, the names we know, Rosa Parks, helped inspire the movement that changed the world for millions of Americans. For 86 years, Claudette Colvin was a living symbol for equal rights. It was March 2nd, 1955. Colvin and three friends were riding in the back of a Montgomery bus after school. She spoke with David Begnaud back in 2021 about the experience.
I was sitting in the session that was allowed for colored people, and this white lady came. The bus driver demanded for the 4 seats.
So 3 of them got up?
Yes.
And you refused?
So I refused. Because this wasn't an elderly white lady, this was a young white lady. I said I could not move because history had me glued to the seat.
That happened 9 months before Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her seat on a Montgomery bus. Colvin was arrested and was found guilty of assaulting police officers, a record she held until it was expunged just over 4 years ago.
And I'm no longer a juvenile delinquent at 82.
Colvin's impact went far beyond her bus boycott. At 16, she was one of 4 plaintiffs in a suit that would end Alabama bus segregation in the landmark Browder versus Gale Supreme Court decision.
I think of myself as a survival of the civil rights struggle.
In her later years, Colvin finally earned some long overdue recognition, including this call from then Vice President Kamala Harris in 2022.
Ms. Colvin, it's Kamala Harris. How are you? You are such a role model of how at every phase of life, every stage of life, we can be leaders in a way that, like you, make history at such an early stage of life.
A mother of 2, a grandmother of 5, and a great-grandmother of 7, Claudette Colvin leaves behind an unimpeachable legacy of bravery, resilience, and unimaginable courage. The Claudette Colvin Legacy Foundation says that she died of natural causes, adding it will remember her laughter, her sharp wit, and her unwavering belief injustice and human dignity. I marvel at this woman that at 15, she had the courage to do that, considering those circumstances. But to see David's interview with her when she said history had her glued to the seat all these years later, what it means to her too.
She is.
And that's true. Now, again, guys, for a lot of people that don't know about Miss Colvin, again, she was, 9 months before Rosa Parks, and of course, where the history books have it as far as refusing to give up her seat to white men. Miss Colvin did the same thing. The only reason why a lot of people may or may not know this was because, unfortunately, Miss Colvin was pregnant at the time and was not married, and therefore, those in the civil rights movement did not think that that would be the best representative for that at that time, which I always thought that, okay, nothing okay. It's like, not the decision I would have gone with, but again, that's history. Without that history, a lot of us would not enjoy the rights that we have now. So we definitely want to give Miss Colvin her flowers, again, because she is a civil rights icon, and definitely rest in power. Because again, it's best to know everybody that's been a part of the movement, no matter how small or how big their role was, we always want to honor them. So definitely that. That being said, let's move back to the idiot, Ice Barbie herself, Kristi Noem, who believes that you shouldn't trust the government, even though she is the government. Well, we know she's made a lot of bad decisions, none of them good. However, Democrats are no longer taking this on the chin. They're actually moving forward with articles of impeachment.
Introduce articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. I am proud to have the support of almost 70 members of Congress already from all across the country. Secretary Noem has brought her reign of terror to the Chicagoland area, LA, New Orleans, Charlotte, Durham, and communities north to south to east to west. You'll hear from some of those communities, Minnesota and Portland. She needs to be held accountable for her actions. This is why I introduced 3 articles of impeachment against Secretary Noem. Number 1, obstruction of Congress. Secretary Noem has denied me and other members of Congress oversight of ICE detention facilities. I was denied access to the ICE facility in Broadview, despite following Secretary Noem's unlawful 7-day notice requirement. It is our constitutional duty to find out what's happening in these centers where inhumane conditions continue to be reported. Number 2, violation of public trust. Secretary Noem directed DHS agents to arrest people without warrants, use tear gas against citizens, and ignore due process. She claims she's taking murderers and rapists off our streets, but none of the 614 people arrested during Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago have been charged or convicted of murder or rape. Federal agents repelled from Black Hawk helicopters and burst through an apartment in the South Shore of Chicago. That was in my district. They dragged people, U.S. citizens and immigrants alike, out of bed in the middle of the night. Number 3 is self-dealing. Secretary Noem has abused her power for personal benefit. She steered a federal contract to a new firm run by a friend. Her propaganda campaign to recruit ICE agents cost taxpayers $200 million. She made a video that turned the South Shore raid into something that looked like a movie trailer. But make no mistake, this is not a movie. This is real life, and real people are being hurt and killed. Renee Nicole Good is dead because Secretary Noem allowed her DHS agents to run amok. Families are forever torn apart. This is not about personalities or trivial disagreements. Secretary Noem has called my impeachment efforts silly. I want to tell her right now, Secretary Noem, you have violated your oath of office, and there will be consequences. I am watching you. Members of Congress are watching you. The American people, most importantly, are watching you. And most of all, we are not liking what we're seeing. If you believe impeachment is silly, then you are not taking your job or our Constitution seriously.
And she's right. Again, that is actually the Illinois Congresswoman Robin Kelly that is pretty much introducing the articles of impeachment against Ice Barbie. And for all those that don't know, articles of impeachment work the same way as they work toward the president as they would work toward his cabinet. It is brought up in the House, as she did read over the charges for the articles of impeachment, to where they will do a simple majority vote, which means they just takes a little bit more than half. That moves on to the Senate. And the Senate begins the trial phase, to where it's like a trial case. You got to present your case, things of that nature. Just like the Senate, you need 2/3 majority. So a lot of people are sitting there saying, well, it's even if all Democrats voted, you still need a lot of Republicans to join the vote, which is true. The thing about it is, and I say this is good for the Democrats, because again, for all those that don't know, we are in the midterms. We are literally 10 months away from the midterms, to where Taco and his buddies are sweating. Most importantly, Taco is sweating. Because yes, unless something happens to where he's no longer fit to be president, we're stuck with him to the remainder of this term. But the House and the Senate can be flipped. Best case scenario, Democrats get overwhelming majority in the House and the Senate, which is possible. And if so, leads to very bad news for Taco. But in this case, even if all Democrats did vote, and let's just say Republicans did what they always did, protect their own kind, it's not going to look well for them, considering the fact that ICE, or I should say the new Gestapo, is doing a lot more harm than good. Not apprehending the so-called illegal immigrants, or those that are the worst, as Taco loves to say, but going after everybody that's just simply trying to make a living in this country. But if they do side with that, again, Democrats, you have all the ammo in the world for this midterms. You have all the ammo in the world. You have a crumbling economy. You have ICE being unrestricted, racially profiling, pulling people off the street, killing people, which we'll get into momentarily. You have a laundry list of tariffs that have caused nothing but problems. We have a president that committed war crimes, invading Venezuela. We have a Secretary of Defense that's never sober and yet bombing civilian planes and not giving any justification for the attacks. That's just off the top of my head. There's a CVS long receipt of things Democrats should be able to pull up for the midterms and say, and don't wait for the midterms. Say it now. Say it now every month up until the midterms. This is what some people voted for. And at the same time, we won't survive. We won't survive, especially with the other news articles we're going to go into. But Democrats, again, you have the ability to make Trump's life for the rest of his term a living hell. You have the ability, and at the same time, we will see what you do with it. We'll see. Moving right along though, because I gotta stick with Taco, because he has said some, forget my language, wild shit. He said a lot of wild shit. I kid you not. Especially in this case. This comes directly from The Independent during his interview with the New York Times. And I wish I could make this up as I'm about to say it, but this is the reason I posted it here. But he sat there and told in an interview with the New York Times, landmark civil rights protections that were put in during the 1960s have resulted in white people being treated very badly. I wish I could make this up. He believes that the passage of the Civil Rights Act resulted ultimately in the discrimination of white men, quote unquote. Well, I think a lot of people were badly treated. White people were badly treated, where they did extremely well, and they were not invited to go into a university or college. So I would say in that way, I think it was unfair in certain cases. Are you effing kidding? Again, he said the Civil Rights Act, the act that people marched, died, and protested on. And his gripe, mind you, was that, well, because of the Civil Rights Act, this lets us discrimination of white men. Sir, I think your Nazi nationalism bigotry is showing. And for all those that need a little bit of data, let me help you out here. White college enrollment was really high, 91%. That was before the Civil Rights Act. Do you want to know what it was post Civil Rights Act? For all those that are wondering, it went from 91% to 80%. While minorities, meaning blacks, Hispanics, and everything else, shot up shot up to almost to 54%. Of course, right now it's almost at 80%, give or take. It's statistic. But the thing that a lot of people don't get is that it didn't affect white people. The Civil Rights Act didn't affect white people in the way that Taco calls it, because nothing stopped them from going to college and universities. It was the fact that minorities had a harder time getting into college and universities, just because the simple fact of the matter is they were a little bit racist. And the Civil Rights Act guaranteed a level playing field. That's what the Civil Rights Act was for. And again, it is amazing to me how Taco sits there and says, well, I think because of that, that's the reason why white people are being treated bad. And we really should pay attention to that for one reason, because he's echoing the same thing that's being said about Fox News. And of course, the newest Fox News channel, CBS News, they're all saying that now. White people are being treated badly. Oh, how sad for you. You finally get to see what a minority feels like. But at the same time, it is amazing to me how they're saying that that certain protocols, rules, and laws are put into place to help non-white people get farther along, that the most dominant ethnic group at the time would complain that they're being treated unfairly. Sir, that is the definition of white privilege. But again, Taco, we're not done with you yet. You still said a lot of wild shit we're getting to. But speaking of shit that doesn't make any sense, Epstein files hasn't been mentioned at all this week with all the Nazi, Gestapo, ICE craziness, loss of life that's going on. But here's the thing. They are actually investigating the Epstein files. The actual House subcommittee is. Cool. When is Trump going to get questioned? He's not, because they want to go after Bill Clinton. I wish I could make this up.
House Committee Chairman James Comer says he will move to hold former President Clinton in contempt after the Clintons failed to comply with a subpoena. The committee wants to hear from the former president and former Secretary Hillary Clinton about their interactions with Jeffrey Epstein.
Jeffrey Epstein visited the White House 17 times while Bill Clinton was president. I've been in Congress 9 years. I think I've been to the White House 9 times in 9 years. Epstein was in the White House double the amount of time that I was under one president. And then we know that Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's plane somewhere around 27 times after the presidency. So no one's accusing Bill Clinton of any wrongdoing. We just have questions. And that's why the Democrats voted along with Republicans to subpoena Bill Clinton.
Now President Clinton is responding, saying it's not about right or left, it's about right and wrong. ABC's Jay O'Brien's on Capitol Hill with more on that. Hi, Jay, what's the latest here?
Yeah, Diane. So we just heard James Comer say that as of next week, the committee will now move to hold Clinton in contempt of Congress. Hillary Clinton, the former Secretary of State, is supposed to testify before that very same committee under that very same subpoena tomorrow. She's not expected to attend either. And so next week, you're looking at the Oversight Committee voting out of committee, most likely along party lines, resolutions to hold the Clintons in contempt of Congress. The next steps would be it would have to go to a full House vote on the House floor to actually refer the Clintons to the Department of Justice to be prosecuted for contempt of Congress. And then it would be up to DOJ whether or not to prosecute. Think back to the January 6th committee, for example, and some Trump allies who defied subpoenas from that committee, and they were ultimately prosecuted by the Department of Justice. But we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here because there is this war of words today between the committee and the Clintons. You just heard from James Comer saying that in his view, it's quote unquote very disappointing, in his words, that the Clintons did not testify today. He said the committee is not supposing the Clintons did anything wrong. That's not the supposition of their investigation. But he says this was a bipartisan subpoena as the committee investigates a number of aspects of Jeffrey Epstein's life. And you've seen the product of some of that investigation, like the so-called birthday book that had those messages purported to be from then private citizen Donald Trump and then ex-president Bill Clinton, as well as Jeffrey Epstein's emails and photographs. All of that you've seen has been in some cases, the product of this committee's investigation. The Clintons are hitting back today, though, saying that first, they have nothing material to offer the committee's inquiry. They never knew of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes when Bill Clinton had an association with him in the mid-2000s. They deny any knowledge of that, and they accuse the committee of acting politically here, trying to embarrass them and the Clintons and treating them different than the committee has treated other witnesses to try to make what they allege is a political point, Diane.
Ladies and gentlemen, Taco tried to play the trap card. I used distraction, and I'm throwing Clinton. Clinton's like, I didn't do anything wrong. You can release I'm sorry, that was a terrible Clinton impression. But anyway, Bill Clinton is sitting there saying, what do I gotta fracking testify for? Release the files. I got nothing to hide. And it's amazing to me that when they asked him of the House Oversight Committee, well, will Trump be answering questions? Oh, he's answered the question. He's answered 1,000 questions already. Jesus Christ, man. You got your marching orders and you didn't even try to freaking hide it. It's distraction. Considering the fact that the Justice Department, by the way, has yet to release all the files after court order, after they've been given time, and still saying, oh, by the way, we still need more time because we still need to hurry up and redact the president's name out of it. Everywhere Trump says it in the Epstein files, we have to hurry up and mark it out real quick. That's all it is. Because I hate to say this, guys, about the Epstein files, because again, Taco ran on this. Well, we're gonna get those files released. Everybody that's in his administration, they've all ran on this. And now that they are the government, you have all the chances in the world to release this file and release these files. And do you? Well, some. But we're going to talk about everybody else. We're going to talk about, oh, here's Bill Gates being pictured. Oh, here's Tiger Woods. Here's so-and-so. Here's Bill Clinton, which we all know, if Trump loves his Bubba because, Trump's still a bottom. But it is amazing to me that this is the distraction, because keep in mind, Trump doesn't want to stop. Trump wants to get away from Epstein as much as humanly possible, because again, with him and his lapdog Pam Bondi, who is doing more as the president's personal lawyer with power to ensure that these files do not get out, but at the same time was ordered to release these files. And now the House committee is now the newest distraction, saying we're going to do contempt. We're going to hold the former president and first lady in contempt. Bill and Hillary are like, bitch, please. We ain't got nothing to hide, but we told you to release the files. So your move. But again, big ass distraction leads nowhere. But here's something that should make a lot of people nervous, because I sat there and said about what Taco would do. I sat there and said what Taco would do if he doesn't get his way. And I say this because the Federal Reserve, Mr. Powell of the Federal Reserve, and I hate to say this was coming a long time ago. And now, since Taco's not getting the race that he wants, he's doing what he usually does when he doesn't get what he wants. He sues.
Federal prosecutors have launched a criminal investigation into Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell related to his testimony before a Senate committee about the multi-billion-dollar renovation of 2 Federal Reserve buildings. Powell firing back overnight, claiming the investigation is really about President Trump's pressure campaign to undermine the Fed's independence and get Powell to lower interest rates.
The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president.
President Trump overnight denied any involvement in the investigation, but just 2 weeks ago made this threat.
We're thinking about bringing a suit against Powell for incompetence. Or it's going to end up costing more than $4 billion. $4 billion.
The renovations, which ballooned past initial budget estimates, were the subject of a public showdown last July when Trump paid a rare visit to the Fed.
It looks like it's about $3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
The Fed has attributed spending overruns to unforeseen cost increases. Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna claims Powell lied under oath and has pushed the Justice Department to investigate, saying, Unelected bureaucrats do not get a free pass. No one is above the law. The financial markets turning lower overnight in response to the investigation. Analysts questioning the long-term impact.
I think it's nothing more than political pressure on the Fed for not doing what the Trump administration wants, right? Not cutting rates faster than they have been. It's a smokescreen. I understand maybe they spent too much money. I get it. It's an old building.
President Trump, during his first term, picked Powell to lead the Fed, praising his judgment. But this morning, Powell says the Justice Department has served the Fed with subpoenas, an unprecedented escalation that could have significant consequences.
So, long story short, Trump didn't get his way. So what does he do? He sues. And I love the fact that, keep in mind, Trump at one point forgot that he was the one that nominated Powell for the Federal Reserve, for the chair of the Federal Reserve. I never nominated Powell. And there's a video out there saying you did. At the same time, I love the fact that when they were talking about the building construction and you see Powell just that's not right. No. Well, it's in the no. Nobody from the Fed told me that. And he's the guy. He is the quote unquote, he's the numbers guy. If I'm going to, not to whittle down the chairman of the Federal Reserve to such a position, but in layman's terms, he's the numbers guy. The Federal Reserve determines the interest rates for the country. It's what banks go off of, mortgages go off of. Pretty much anything that has an interest rate comes from there. So the reason why inflation the whole time that Trump was wanting Powell to cut interest rates, well, because again, inflation. So in order to stag inflation, what they do, they keep interest rates high. Makes it hard to borrow, makes it hard to give out loans, makes it hard to do all these things because the cost of spending was way too freaking high. And they were spending boatloads of cash. And everybody remembers, especially if you're watching this podcast, we talked about it for months. Trump wanted Powell to literally cut rates to make his presidency look good. That's all it was. To make his presidency look good. That's it. And that's what he wants to do now. And Powell's not going to budge. Powell's like, we don't serve the president. And he's right. The Federal Reserve is nonpartisan. They serve the people. They don't serve Democrats. They don't serve Republicans. They serve the people. And of course, Trump believes he's a dictator because he's already committed war crimes. But at the same time, he wants to go to the Federal Reserve like it's his personal piggy bank. Keep in mind, I love to remind you about this. Trump was the only person in modern history to bankrupt a casino. How do you bankrupt a casino? The same way Trump right now is going to wind up bankrupting this country if he's allowed to. But with that case being said, that will still go on. Powell has returned a law firm. And I'm going to be honest with you. The fact that Trump sat there and said that he has nothing to do with it, you gave Bondi, you gave your lawyer lapdog marching orders. And she will not stand up to you. Of course not. Because like I said a long time ago, if Trump got a second shot at being president, he's learned from his mistakes. He's going to put in those loyal to him. Doesn't mean that they're qualified. Doesn't mean they know what they're doing. Doesn't mean that they actually have intelligence. That the main thing they have is that they will fall on the sword or kiss his ass if told to. And Pam Bondi doing exactly that. But here's also, again, going back to war crimes with the fact that we talked about how Trump invaded Venezuela for no reason, basically violating the rules of engagement and every other international law out there. At the same time, wants to run Venezuela. Because again, keep in mind, Venezuela has their own president now after Maduro has been abducted and basically brought to the States to face crimes, which I still think it's funny as hell, concerning the fact that the United States acted like the International Criminal Court, but yet there's still warrants out for Bush and Cheney that still, if they ever do leave the country, their ass is grass. But the reason why I bring this up outside of that is that, unfortunately, Trump decided to bring back an oldie but a goodie because for some odd reason, my bad. I muted myself. So what I was saying was, before I get to the video, because Trump got so effing bold about Venezuela and he got away with it, he's bringing back up the Greenland situation again.
How much money are you thinking of giving people in Greenland to get them on board with a possible U.S.
I'm not talking about money for Greenland yet. I might talk about that. But right now, we are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not, because if we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland. And we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor. Okay? I would like to make a deal, the easy way. But if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way. And by the way, I'm a fan of Denmark too. I have to tell you, and they've been very nice to me. I'm a big fan, but the fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land. I'm sure we had lots of boats go there also, but we need that because if you take a look outside of Greenland right now, there are Russian destroyers, there are Chinese destroyers and bigger. There are Russian submarines all over the place. We're not going to have Russia or China occupy Greenland, and that's what they're going to do if we don't. So we're going to be doing something with Greenland, either the nice way or the more difficult way.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there because a couple things here. I don't know if Taco doesn't own a map. We're closer to Russia than we are Greenland. I'm just throwing that out there for those that don't use Google Earth or just never seen a map in their own doggone lives. At the same time, he sat there and said, we're either going to take Greenland the easy way or the hard way. I cannot stress enough. He's already committed one war crime. What's another? He literally has told Denmark, we are going to invade Greenland, whether you like it or not, out of fear that China or Russia will do the exact same thing, which is crazy. Because if China or Russia decided to invade Greenland, there's a certain organization out there that is activated to go against them. And China and Russia don't want the smoke. Well, Will, if that's the case, then when Russia invaded Ukraine, how come NATO didn't intervene? They did. At the same time, though, guys, the fact of the matter is Russia is committing a war crime, which we said on this podcast when it happened. Putin is committing a war crime, invading a country that has not attacked him, that he's claiming Russia has land rights to, and it has no problem bombing the crap out of Ukraine and killing Ukrainians. Now, we just got through sitting there saying Trump invaded Venezuela, kidnapped their president Maduro and his wife, brought them here to be put up on charges, killed his entire personal security force, right? And brought them here. And I've said it once and I'll say it again. It is not for the independence of Venezuelans. Venezuela sits on the largest oil reserve in the world, bigger than Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Iraq, Russia, and US combined. Venezuela is the last gold mine for oil. And if you know anything about big oil will do all they can to lobby against renewable energy sources and be able to frack, coal mine, and be able to get as much oil out of a place as much as humanly possible. And Venezuela is their Las Vegas. And Taco, right now, along with Marco Rubio, along with Chevron's already been there. Chevron's actually been pumping oil out of Venezuela. But ExxonMobil, BP, all those other ones, they all now want to see at the table. Why? Because now it's about to be Christmas for them. And a lot of people who are idiotic thinking, well, if we're going to be pumping oil out of Venezuela, that means gas is going to go down here, right? No, it's not. It's going to increase. Because for all those who don't remember, the Keystone pipeline that they wanted to build out of here, that the oil was basically being pulled from Canada into the U.S., this long, elongated pipeline that would have been an environmental effing disaster, but thankfully did get stopped in some parts. Well, it was supposed to help. What was the lie that was told? There'll be thousands of jobs. Only 40 jobs were created. Gas is going to go down. Gas increased. So for all those that are thinking that your gas is going to go down because you think we're going to start pumping Venezuelan oil to the U.S., not going to happen. Gas prices are going to go up. And again, we are ignoring the fact that big oil is still going to keep pumping along for another 100 years or so until the last drop of dinosaur juice is gone. And then what? But the last thing I want to get to before we move on, Trump sat there and said, just because your boat landed there 500 years ago does not mean you own rights to the land. So I'm just going to point this out because I love how he said, I love how a white person, especially a white undereducated bigot like Trump, turns around and sits there and says, just because your boat landed there 500 years ago doesn't mean you own the land. Really? Native Americans would love to have a word with you because that's exactly what you're fucking. Oh, I'm sorry. That's like, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to cuss so much on this podcast. I apologize. That's what they did. Why do you think Thanksgiving is frowned upon, sir? Because they basically saved you from destruction. And what did you do? You took over their land. This land is stolen. And yet you're going to sit there and tell a bunch of people that sit on land that, hey, just because you landed there doesn't mean it's yours. Native Americans, please stand up and look at Trump and say, oh, when are you leaving? It is crazy to me. It is stupid. At the same time, he is dead serious about invading Greenland. And I hate when he said the easy way or the hard way. I'm just thinking to myself, I feel for everyone in the armed forces that is stuck. I mean, I'm not saying you're stuck. You want to serve your country. And again, thank you for your service for serving your country. You took an oath to serve your country. I understand that. I feel for you that you're under this idiot and a drunk for a Secretary of Defense. I feel for you because you don't know whether you're going to Venezuela. You don't know if you're going to be going to Greenland. And at the same time, yes, like the Senator Mark Kelly did say, you can refuse illegal orders. But move right along, getting back to ICE Barbie for a second, because we do have to talk about Nicole Good, the woman that was murdered by ICE earlier this week. And of course, Kristi Noem does what she does best, gets in front of a camera, does makeup on, and bullshits.
Happening. Because of the protesters and the violent criminals that were attacking our law enforcement. If you remember in that operation, what happened was our officers were out trying to get a car stuck out of the snow when they were surrounded and assaulted and blocked in by protesters that were inciting. The officer was following his training. He did follow his training because of an individual that was into a driver's window. Is that part of the training? How is that self-defense? This is an experienced officer who followed his training, and we will continue to let the investigation unfold into the individual and continue to follow the procedures and policies that happen in these use of force cases. But let's remember the events that surrounded what happened yesterday on that tragic situation was that these individuals had followed our officers all day, had harassed them, had blocked them in. They were impeding our law enforcement operations, which is against the law. And when they demanded and commanded her to get out of her vehicle several times, she did not. So we'll continue to allow this process to unfold and recognize that these law enforcement officers every single day put their lives on the line. They go out and do their jobs. They go out and this was an act of domestic terrorism, which is perpetuating these policies and procedures that follow a use of force situation like this are continuing to be put in place. So this is standard operating procedure after every use of force situation is that we follow these procedures and protocols.
Oh, how she is so full of shit. She is. A few things, and we're not going to show the video here. The video itself is beyond graphic, and we're just not going to show it. If you did want to see the video, it's available pretty much everywhere. But yes, Nicole Good was a woman that was basically murdered by Gestapo ICE, and it's not the way that ICE Barbie tells it. For example, the woman was backing out of course, they weren't following ICE officers all day. She was backing out of her own driveway in front of her own house. Even to the point to where there were no obstructing traffic, it was snowing. And of course, Minnesotans, because they're used to weather, know how to drive. ICE people that have no problem being there were really being the obstructionists. And at the same time, a trigger happy ICE agent decided to end the life of somebody Simply put, because, well, he was empowered to. And that's the danger with ICE. The danger with ICE, outside of the fact they hired pretty much every, and I can't take credit for this. I can't take credit for this term, but I'm going to start using it. ICE hired every cosplay triad, every cosplay patriot they can find. And what I mean by that is, guys, you can still keep in mind about ICE. ICE, practically anybody can apply for ICE and get a job. And that's effing scary. For immigration and customs enforcement, they're taking everybody. Doesn't matter if you're fit, doesn't matter if you're in shape, doesn't matter if you can actually count past 5, they're taking you. And a lot of people, and I'm going to be honest, a lot of bigots are using that as an opportunity to basically get away with damn near murder with a badge. And that's what happened in this case. Even couch fucker, and I just sat there and said, I'm not going to cuss. Couch humper, Vice President J.D. Vance, who's soon to be Erica Kirk's new husband, had his piece to say about this. And again, this is in the early days of them spinning the story.
Somebody sent me a photo of a CNN headline about what happened in Minneapolis. And this is the headline. I'm just going to read it. Outrage after ICE officer kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. Well, that's one way to put it. And that is the way that many people in the corporate media have put this attack over the last 24 hours. And I say attack very, very intentionally, because this was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile? What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws. The President stands with ICE. I stand with ICE. We stand with all of our law enforcement officers. And part of that is recognizing that you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before. And everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Every single one of you. Questions?
And what's crazy about this, guys, that's the lie. Again, they love to sit there and say, well, ICE was in it. The ICE was defending themselves. They fear for their lives. We've all heard that one before, haven't we? At the same time, this woman was a domestic terrorist from the left. They were using tactics, and they were going to run her over. They're going to run him over with the car. Which, if you watch the video, he basically stepped away from the car, and it was a kill shot, which tells me he wasn't in the way. His life was in danger. He decided above all else that he could use lethal force. And here's the thing that I will say first before we get to the Nazi Stephen Miller and what he said. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey actually did say this a week ago when this occurred. And I stick to this because this right here is what we want to see. And yes, it does have some colorful language. You've been warned already, although we're 43 minutes in this podcast. We've already used colorful language. But what he says right here sums up exactly how everybody feels about ICE right now.
There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better. But I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead. That's on you. And it's also on you to leave. It's on you to make sure that further damage, further loss of life and injury is not done. We're going to be working towards justice as quickly as we possibly can right now. And justice is what we've all got to get. Next, a message to our community. Look, we all know that the agenda of this Trump administration is to create chaos. Let us respond right now with our best versions of self. This is a moment where all of us in Minneapolis and beyond, we can rise to the occasion. We can show them who we are. We can show them the kind of courage, bravery, love, and compassion that makes Minneapolis, Minneapolis, and that makes America, America. We are better than a bunch of ICE agents being deployed to cities around the country and ripping apart families and communities.
And he's right. Not to cut off Mayor Fry, but he's right. That again, get the fuck out. We've seen, as like, guys, I hate to say this, I really hate to say this, but this, unfortunately, with this death of Miss Good, it was a matter of time. We said what would happen when Taco wanted to invade DC. We said what would happen when Taco tried to enforce ICE in Los Angeles. We said what would happen when he went to Chicago. And we also said what would happen if he went to Minneapolis. Now, you would think, and I'm just going to throw these out here, DC, Los Angeles, Chicago, Minneapolis, and I think I want to say Portland. Yeah, Portland, Oregon. So that's 5 cities. What do all 5 locations have in common? They're all democratically run states. Democratically run locations. Democratic. At the same time, does no one see, as like everybody sees what they're trying to do. And I say this to all those that are protesting, and I say this to all those who are just trying to keep safe. They want to do martial law. Here's what they want. They want to push the public so far that the public strikes back. And once an ICE agent, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if history follows suit, you can only push the population so much to where all that action will equal a opposite but equal reaction. And that's what's going to happen. And then once they get their sign, here comes Taco. Oh, I'm declaring martial law so I can use the military to occupy that location. Because that's what they want. That's the reason why they're trying to send the border commanders trying to send more border officers to Minneapolis. Think about that for a second. I mean, because the people in Los Angeles drove ICE people out, and they tried to do the same thing in New York, and some people got kidnapped. At the same time, only in Democratic-led areas is ICE trying to basically be the new Gestapo. They are the new Gestapo. They are the Nazis, because anybody can apply for ICE and get in, literally. Because they see a $50,000 signing bonus. You don't get that immediately. You get that after 5 years of being there. At the same time, think about that for a second. Have they really went after illegal immigrants, or just went after people that just basically they could profile and get away with because the Supreme Court said it was okay for them? Do you see why this house of cards is a problem? It's a problem because this is basically how they do martial law. This is how they get to martial law. You rile up the public to the point to where martial law is the only option, and that allows you to send the military. And again, when you send in the military on the people, you officially become the Nazis that you supposedly are not. But here's also what's crazy. Speaking of Nazis, Stephen Miller said this on the Will Cain show. And I don't watch Will Cain because Will Cain's an effing idiot. But then again, him and Stephen A are in the same boat. But I digress. But Stephen Miller said this on the Will Cain show. And this, again, is effing disturbing.
Depends on the action, it depends on the conduct, it depends on what is taking place. But what we need to reassure, a couple points, to all ICE officers, you have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. And anybody who lays a hand on you or tries to stop you or tries to obstruct you is committing a felony. You have immunity to perform your duties, and no one, no city official, no state official, no illegal alien, no leftist agitator or domestic insurrectionist can prevent you from fulfilling your legal obligations and duties. And the Department of Justice has made clear that if officials cross that line into obstruction, into criminal conspiracy against the United States or against ICE officers, then they will face justice.
All right. So what's crazy about that? I love how they try to sit there and say, well, you have federal immunity. Well, here's the problem with that. If you think you have federal immunity, it doesn't protect you if the states go after you, in which they can. States can go after these ICE officers if they do go too far. Federal immunity does not clear you from state activities. If states want to bring up charges, they can. Federal immunity has nothing to do with that. But let's think about this for a second. You have the Nazi who is currently the White House chief of staff, telling people, because let's be honest, idiots watch Fox News all the time, telling them that you have immunity to do whatever you want. And that's scary. And that sets a dangerous precedent. And that's why we're not too far away. I keep hoping protesters don't lose their cool. But it's hard to sit there and tell protesters, when you have ICE agents coming up to you and saying, did you guys not learn the last time when y'all went up against us? When you have ICE agents pulling guns on protesters, unarmed protesters, when you have all that going on, and I'm just saying, by pushing and pushing and pushing, eventually something has to give. And I'm hoping protesters don't cross that line, because that gives them all the ammo in the world to send the military, and it just gets worse from there. But you can observe, you can record, you can use every legal option. You can use every legal option out there, because ICE has picked up people who are American citizens. And honestly, the only way you're going to get their attention sometimes, it's not by violence, it's on the bottom line. You have to hit them with lawsuits, because trust me, once enough lawsuits do get in and they bankrupt or pretty much kill the budget for ICE and Department of Homeland Security, you'll get attention. At the same time, can do so without martial law. But yeah, ICE, get the fuck out. That being said, I do want to get to two things before we get into other news, especially news that is not being talked about right now. And I mean, especially out of Mississippi. But Taco says the one thing that makes the most complete sense about the midterms. And yet, if I'm Democrats, I'm playing this at every chance I get.
And we had 12 months of unprecedented success in 2025, and now we're going to make history and break records with the epic midterm victory that we're going to pull off. It just doesn't seem to happen for people that win the presidency. It's an amazing phenomena. You win the presidency, and we sure as hell are having a successful presidency. I will say that. But even if it's a successful presidency, it's been nothing like what we're doing. We had a very good day 2 days ago, too. But even if it's successful, they don't win. I don't know what it is. There's something psychological, like you vote against. You can win by a lot. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions. We won everything. But they say that when you win the presidency, you lose the midterm. You got to win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached. We don't impeach them. You know why? Because they're meaner. than we are. We should have impeached Joe Biden for 100 different things. They are mean and smart, but fortunately for you, they have horrible policy.
So what's crazy about this, guys? Number one, he does not know the definition of impeached. He's been impeached twice. What he means to say, if his dumbass actually ever uses whatever left of his brain cells or lack thereof, because the guy got more self spray tan and makeup on than most of the cast of Jersey Shore. What he means to say, he wasn't removed. And yes, he was impeached twice, but the Republican Party decided not to remove him. So yes, he's been impeached. I just love the fact that, well, I'm going to get impeached. You have been. The process was impeachment. The impeachment process was started. You just weren't removed from office, is what his dumbass meant to say. And he can thank the Republican Party for that. Now you're probably asking, why did I sit there and say the Democrats need to play this chance every get? They should, because this man sat there and says, if you guys don't win, I'm getting impeached. No. If you don't win, and the Democrats get majority in the House and Senate, if they get the majority, I'm talking a good, full blown out, they can push through whatever they want to majority, which is possible. If they do get that, then yeah, if the first action out of that Congress, once it's sworn in, should be immediate. We are filing for impeachment, articles of impeachment, and let's go ahead and push through now. And Taco can't do anything about it. It could be, if it's a majority in the House, a 2/3 majority in the Senate, your ass is out. And of course, your vice president takes over, which they could impeach him too. But I love the fact that he sat there and says, well, they're going to find a reason. Dude, there's a CVS for a seat long of reasons they can go after you. And not just the newest stuff. They could go back a while. But if I'm just, war crime seems to be the highest one on my list. Invading Venezuela, inciting violence, pardoning domestic terrorists. I can keep going down the list of things you could be impeached for. But what's so crazy about this, guys, is that if I'm the Democrats, play that. And then ask folks, is your life any better under Taco? Is your life any better under this would-be tough guy, but really he's a bottom? Is your life any better? And if that doesn't convince them, play this video where a New York Times correspondent asked Trump to his face, what can check you? His answer, well, here.
See any checks on your power on the world stage? Is there anything that could stop you if you wanted to?
Yeah, there's one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop, and that's law. Very good. I don't need international law. I'm not looking to hurt people.
Do you feel your administration needs to abide by international law on the global stage?
Yeah, I do. I do. But it depends what your definition of international law is. You mean in Greenland?
We had
that's because you needed them at the time.
In the 1951 agreement, though, it says the United States can reopen these bases anytime you want. You can send as many troops as you want, and you haven't done it. How come?
Because I want to do it properly.
And properly means own it?
Really, it is. To me, it's ownership. Ownership is very important.
Why is ownership important here?
Because it's what I feel is psychologically needed for success. I think that ownership gives you a thing that you can't do, whether you're talking about a lease or a treaty. Ownership gives you things and elements that you can't get from just signing a document that you can have a base.
Right there. Right freaking there. The man sat there and said, in his own words, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing that can stop me is me. That's scary. This man, who has access to things that he shouldn't have access to, is turning around and sitting there saying, the only thing that can stop me is me. Why is this not, again, if I'm Democrats, there's your advertisement right there. This man does not believe nothing can stop him and will destroy your way of life to get what he believes is right. He is a senile, old-ass man that is somehow still alive, and he will ruin your life if you give him the chance to. I am just saying, if I'm the Democrats, those two videos are the ones I'm playing, and I'm sitting there saying, is your life any better? Because I can guarantee it's not. But I wanted to get to this story in Mississippi because this story in Mississippi should be getting nationwide news. Because for all the Republicans' talk of fraud, waste, and abuse, the biggest story right now in Mississippi is a fraud case of money being embezzled that was meant for food stamps and SNAP benefits got put into the hands of other people to fund their lifestyles. Some of these people you may actually know.
Some reports indicate there are as many as 38 defendants in the Mississippi welfare scandal, but only one of them has demanded a jury trial in the case. That's the atmosphere Ted DiBiase Jr. will face when he enters a Jackson courtroom to plead his case. In total, the scandal involved at least $77 million in federal aid given to Mississippi under programs like the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, or TANF. Specifically, prosecutors charged DiBiase with pocketing $4 million meant to provide emergency food aid and leadership outreach to the community and inner-city children. DiBiase's indictment, according to the Wall Street Journal, says DiBiase did not provide and did not intend to provide those assistance programs to Mississippians. The former wrestler, though, says he has significant evidence that he did perform the work contracted. So the jury will get to decide. But there's just one catch. All the major players in the welfare scandal have pleaded guilty, including Ted's brother, Brett. Experts say all could be expected to testify for the government in any and all court cases involving the welfare scandal. It's also interesting to note that only one person has been sentenced on state charges involving the welfare scandal, while nobody has faced any federal sentencing. That suggests prosecutors have significant leverage over those potential witnesses. Then there's this. Ted DiBiase Sr. has filed a lawsuit against Mississippi State Auditor Shad White for defamation. The elder wrestler says there are things in White's book about the welfare scandal that make him look bad. So all this sets up for what could be a very interesting trial, which some say will likely include former Governor Phil Bryant and former football star Brett Favre, though neither one of them has ever been charged with a crime in the welfare scandal. Then again, DiBiase can also cut his losses and make his own guilty plea. We'll be watching.
So let's think about that for a second, folks. $77 million in a welfare scandal that no one is talking about. $77 million that in federal aid that was given to the state of Mississippi to be used in TANF. Again, temporary assistance for needy families was supposed to be used for SNAP, for benefits, and it never made it. And you have, of course, you have the usual suspects they put up there. They had a good number of people up there, right? That all pleaded guilty. And it's not being talked about. I am trying to figure out that unless you live in Mississippi, you're not going to hear about it. And at the same time, where did that $77 million go? And I'm going to tell you. And again, if this is not the biggest case of fraud, waste, and abuse that supposedly the conservatives are running on, and yet nobody's talking about it. This is why I say the fraud, waste, and abuse that they run with is some bullshit. Because again, it's a red state. Mississippi's almost dead last in almost everything. And yet, money disappears in that state, and unless someone catches it, it's business as usual. Figure that one out. But the other story I did want to point out, guys, is that if you're in New York right now and you need a hospital, might want to be careful because 15,000 nurses are on strike.
Breaking news, thousands of nurses in 3 hospital systems here in New York City went on strike this morning after negotiations failed to yield breakthroughs in their contract disputes. Some of the sticking points include benefits, staffing levels, and workplace safety. The strike, impacting some 15,000 nurses, could potentially force the hospitals to transfer patients and cancel procedures.
15,000 nurses. And yes, this is from the private systems. I believe it's if I was thinking correctly. So it is private systems. So Mount Sinai is one of them that's affected. But again, the New York State Nurse Association, 15,000 nurses involved in that strike, which again, this is around the time of a flu season, though, unusual flu season that has a lot more cases than normal. At the same time, winter is coming. Hospitals run on nurses. And I'm not saying that just because, again, I have an immense amount of respect for nurses. I like I said, I've said on the show, if it wasn't for one nurse that was being a very stickler about my wife when she was pregnant, my wife may not be here and my child may not be here if it not for one diligent nurse really speaking up for her. What I'm getting at is, guys, nurses are essential. Hell, we just 2 years ago talked about essential workers and how nurses were essential workers, first aid responders, essential workers, those that were going out during COVID were all quote unquote essential workers and how they were celebrated and all this stuff. And I'm just thinking to myself, a nurse is one of those professions that you have to have. You have to have people in nursing. But it always comes down, always comes down whenever I see these strikes. Hey, everybody, I'm like, everything going up at your paycheck. As nurses, they're like, oh, but Will, you understand, sometimes the lowest nurse makes close to $90K. Okay, but you're not factoring in their fees. You're not factoring in their licensing, credentialing, continuing education, malpractice insurance. And that's just the tip of the iceberg off the top of my head. You're not even thinking about taxes or whatever else they got to pay. That $90K a year can go pretty freaking quick when you think about all the fees and all the fees that go into basically having that profession. But these are hospitals. And again, hospitals are all saying they're making record profits. And this is the problem. You have greedy ass hospital systems that are raking in profits and not paying their people. Hence why nurses are going on strike. And I'm going to tell you why nurses are going to win this strike. Nurses are going to win this strike because hospitals will not be able to find traveling nurses fast enough to stock up to keep these patients and everybody else okay and stable. You won't find enough traveling nurses. And trust me, traveling nurses can command whatever they command. What I mean by that is traveling nurses can basically make their own bank. A traveling nurse can work 6 months out the year, and for the remainder of that 6 months, not work at all. That's how much they can ask in a rate. But when it comes down to it, pay people. That's all people ask for. They're not asking for to be millionaires or billionaires. They just want to work one job to where they can pay off their bills, to where they can get a home, buy a car, take a vacation, take care of the kids. Just be able to enjoy life without not working yourself to death. But again, greedy corporations always going to learn the hard way, and in the end, they're going to wind up paying more. So we are going to keep up with this New York story of nurses going on strike, but mark my words, they will cave. Because again, staffing is going to be a problem. At the same time, it's better to pay them what they're worth versus trying to start all over again, and then you're the ones out of a job. But hey, I digress. But moving right along, guys, we did got to cover this as well because unfortunately, Robert RFK has decided that the U.S. food pyramid needs to be adjusted. I'm rubbing my head because I'm already got a headache going, but here it is.
Administration making over America's food pyramid, with meat, cheese, and dairy now on top. Eat real food. The new dietary guidelines double the recommended portion of daily protein. Encourage full-fat dairy items instead of low-fat. Avoid ultra-processed foods, including some cookies, crackers, and chips. On alcohol, Americans should limit consumption instead of previous guidance of no more than 2 drinks a day for men, 1 for women.
In the best case scenario, I don't think you should drink alcohol.
Many in the health community praise the avoidance of ultra-processed foods, but worry about the increase in protein.
Are you at all concerned that Americans will see that recommendation and think I can eat more red meat?
I think there's 2 big concerns with this focus on higher protein. One is that people will immediately translate protein to meat and eat more red meat, thinking that's, that the most healthful choice when there are other healthier choices. And two, that all of these highly processed foods that are right now adding protein isolates, energy bars and water and cereals are going to get a big boost.
As for those ultra-processed foods, I asked Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. if government should do more. Should ultra-processed foods be regulated?
Well, our approach is not to tell people what they can and cannot eat. It's to give them good information and let them make their own choices. We live in a democracy. If you want to drink a Coca-Cola and eat a donut, you ought to be able to do that. But it is costing our country money, and it's destroying public health.
And joins us now live in studio. And let's stick with Secretary Kennedy there. He said previous administrations have been beholden to the food industry. Was he right?
Well, he was right. But what's interesting is in the White House report tonight, Tom, it reveals that 4 out of the 7 outside experts that they used in this report have financial ties to the meat and dairy industry.
Oh.
Surprise, surprise, surprise. First off, RFK is a man that looks like he has a face for radio, and his voice should be closed caption. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to I am making fun of the guy. If you sound like you need to clear your throat whenever you start talking, or I need to have subtitles like I'm watching anime, don't go into politics, and most importantly, don't talk. But the food pyramid, I'm just going to say it like this, because first off, if you're taking your advice from RFK, a guy who drunk raw milk, a guy who literally is not a nutritionist, he's not a doctor, he's not a researcher, he is a guy that basically had the internet and plenty of freaking time on his hands, and so-called quote-unquote expert. The point I'm getting at here, guys, is I'd rather go back to the old school, because again, protein in itself, like you said, they might think of it as red meat. And don't get me wrong, I love steak, I love burgers, but I'm also 40 freaking too. I can't eat the way I used to eat when I was 18, 19 years old. I like to be around, preferably a lot longer. So what does that mean? Do I still enjoy an occasional burger or taco or steak every now and then? Yes. But I have learned to incorporate that I do need more grains, I need more vegetables, I do need to have more fruits, because that's the way the original fruit pyramid was. The fact that he flipped the fruit pyramid around scares me. But then again, if you are taking your advice from RFK, good luck, and we hope you're around in 5 years, because no. But speaking of things that don't make any sense, Elon Musk is back inside the Pentagon. Well, sort of, because his AI, Grok, has now been included in the Pentagon. Nothing screams security risk than that.
Thank you, Elon. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Today, we're excited to announce the next frontier AI model company to join GenAI.mil, and that is Grok from xAI, which will go live later this month. Very soon, we will have the world's leading AI models on every unclassified and classified network throughout our department. Long overdue. And we will not employ AI models that won't allow you to fight wars. We will judge AI models on this standard alone. Factually accurate, mission relevant, without ideological constraints that limit lawful military applications. Department of War AI will not be woke. It will work for us. We're building war-ready weapons and systems, not chatbots, for an Ivy League factory.
Am I the only one, guys, that got a little bit of Terminator 2 Judgment Day vibes from that? Because, okay, first off, Elon Musk is a freaking idiot. Okay, he's not a genius. He's a nepo baby with daddy's diamond mine money. At the same time, Grok AI is in the news because, well, there are no safeguards for it. For example, if you do go to the dark place, a la Twitter or X, to where, certain things you can ask Grok to do. Like if a certain picture of a certain woman and you would like to see a certain woman in a birthday suit and you ask Grok to do it, it does. But do you see the slippery slope I'm trying to sit there and point out without trying to go too dark or too at Law and Order SVU about it? Because there are no safeguards. And people believe that, hey, and these are the people that need to be watched or put on a pedo list. Because some people are actually mad about the fact that people are bringing this up, like, well, it should be fair and free. And I'm like, no, I'm already against AI because the AI usage is already taking over a little bit too much. And the fact that there, a lot of things that don't have a lot of safeguards around them, specifically Grok, is now being included in the Department of Defense. I am not calling it the Department of War because, again, Congress did not approve the Department of War. So Pete Hegseth can go suck a lemon. That being said, that to me is a dangerous precedent because Elon inside the Pentagon is about as worse as Elon trying to get all of our financial and IRS data when he was running Doge. I do not like the fact of an AI being put inside of, as Pete Hegseth said, classified and unclassified equipment. That screams problem to me. It really, truly does. At the same time, it's not being talked about enough. It really freaking isn't. But we'll see. I still think this is a train wreck. I still think this is a train wreck ready to happen, but we'll see. But the last story I got, guys, again, does follow Taco one more time because Taco did visit Detroit, Michigan, and actually visited the Ford plant. And this happened, which I thought was interesting. So yeah, for all those that don't know, that was a individual that had screamed, I guess they were trying to say pedophile protector, to which Taco turned around and gave a nice FU and then gave him the international sign for peace and flipped the bird. Well, you would think that's the end of the story, but it is not, because that Ford worker unfortunately has said that they've been suspended because he called Trump a pedophile protector during the visit out in Dearborn, Michigan at the Ford plant. Again, it is very sad that, he was basically saying what was on his mind. He's basically saying what a lot of people have already said about Trump. And at the same time, the powers that be decided he needed to be suspended. But again, it's not the sad part because, how we talked about in this show where folks have done some heinous shit. We have seen women, let's be honest, we've seen white emboldened white women call kids the N-word. We've seen white and bold women lose their shit because they didn't want to serve people of color at a restaurant or a bar. And we've seen where that site of Give, Sing, Go, which I hate that freaking site because it's supposedly a Christian site. And these women who basically pull these heinous shit actually got to be made millionaires overnight. Well, thankfully at GoFundMe, and this does kind of have a happy ending, and I'm surprised, and I'm very proud about this. I'm actually sharing the GoFundMe page. So TJ Sabala, and I apologize, sir, if I've destroyed your name. I destroyed your last name. He's actually the worker that was put on suspension for calling Trump a pedophile protector. And of course, someone actually set up a GoFundMe for him with the goal of $10K, which thankfully, as of this live recording, that goal has been exceeded. Now it is at almost $330,000. So I will say this, that, you can say whatever you want to say. And of course, the consequences are yours and yours alone. But if you're just simply saying the guy is calling you exactly what you are, and at the same time, and again, this isn't the first time. Just keep in mind, guys, about the Charlie Kirk situation. There was a guy in Austin Peay here in Tennessee that all he did was repeat Charlie Kirk's words, and they try to fire him. Well, he did get his job back and also got a $500K settlement for basically unlawful termination. So, and again, with this case, with Mr. Subala, will be taken care of. Him and his family are taken care of. But it's just amazing to me that That's making the right person famous. Because when it comes down to it, guys, we all have to find different ways to fight. I am not calling for violence. Let me stress that very clearly. I'm not calling for violence against ICE. I'm not calling for violence against DHS. I am not calling for violence against Ice Barbie. I'm certainly not calling violence against for Taco. I am saying for people for the next 10 months, mobilize, organize, and definitely strategize. Be at the forefront whenever ICE shows up. Be at the forefront, record, get as much information as you can, because trust me, they will try to change the narrative. But as long as you keep showing up, as long as you keep protesting, doing things the legal way, don't go the violent way. Because if we go the violent way, martial law is bound to happen. And that's exactly what they freaking want. So above all else, guys, be vigilant, protect yourselves, but above all else, resist. That's all I'm saying. But we're going to move on to our feel-good segment, because usually how the Frack got here, we do cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom. Sometimes make use of fake humanity, but hey, it's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. Supposedly it's snowing here in Tennessee. So, yay. That being said, we do got 2 stories to hopefully make you put some good vibrations in your system, because we all need it after this week. And this first story is about, well, a bunch of students setting up a camera and basically just wanting their fellow classmates to say something great about something that happened in the day they feel proud about. I thought this was pretty cool.
Finally tonight here, the microphone and the messages. Tonight in Monroe, Ohio, south of Dayton, the students at Monroe Junior and Senior High School and the remarkable moments playing out in the hallways. The school placing a microphone in the middle of the hallway between classes, inviting students to step up and say something good that happened to them that day. The answers were simple, they were profound, and they were moving. Some of them, the little things, like not hitting the snooze alarm today.
I woke up at the good time today for school, so I didn't miss the bus.
There was acing the test.
I got 100% on my German test today. Thank you.
I checked my grades and I had all A's.
After school sports and actually making the team.
I made the basketball team.
And I finished my soccer season with a win.
I found out one of my new passions, and it's wrestling. Go wrestling.
Not forgotten the teachers and their impact.
Ms. Gates, she complimented my artwork.
The friendships.
There was a new girl at school today, and I think I made a new friend, so yeah.
Many of us can relate, getting rid of the braces.
I got my braces off recently.
And there was the other moment, she said yes.
I finally got a girlfriend.
And right here tonight.
Hi, David.
The students of Monroe Junior Senior High School, Aaliyah Garrett, 7th grade.
Be happy, see other people happy, and acknowledge that they're happy.
Daisy Herrera, also in the 7th grade.
You never know how long that person's going to be there for you. So just take the opportunity.
And junior Addie McSwain.
A little bit of love and kindness can go a really long way in making someone else's day and yours.
Those moments in the hallway, making our day too.
Thank you.
No, thank you. We love this.
And we love it too, because again, man, I love seeing bills like this, because that makes me feel, you know what, next generation, y'all gonna be all right. Really and truly you are, because again, love and kindness go a long freaking way. And just happy that dude got a girlfriend. He was happy as hell about that. And also, but again, next generation, y'all gonna be all right. We actually on a rare occasion have another feel-good moment, because again, we need them. We definitely need them this year. This one came from the Jaguar reporter Lynn Jones, who decided to give the Jaguars coach Liam Cohen some words of encouragement. And I'm going to be honest, this gave all the auntie vibes that I think all of us needed to hear.
How you doing today? Lynn Jones, Jacksonville Free Press News. I just want to tell you congratulations on your success, young man.
Thank
you. Hold your head up, all right? You guys have had a most magnificent season.
Thank
you. You did a great job out there today.
Appreciate
so you just hold your head up, okay?
Thank
and
you,
ladies
ma'am.
and gentlemen, Duval, you the one, all
Thank
right?
you, ma'am.
keep it going. We got another season, okay?
appreciate
Take
it.
care and much continued success to you and the entire team.
Thank you, ma'am.
How you doing today? Lynn Jones, Jacksonville Free Press News. I just want to tell you congratulations on your success, young man.
Thank
you. Hold your head up, all right? You guys have had a most magnificent season.
Thank
you. You did a great job out there today.
Appreciate
so you just hold your head up, okay?
Thank
and
you,
ladies
ma'am.
and gentlemen, Duval, you the one, all
Thank
right?
you, ma'am.
keep it going. We got another season, okay?
appreciate
Take
it.
care and much continued success to you and the entire team.
Thank you.
Man, I'm gonna be honest. And that was Jacksonville's free press reporter Lynn Jones. She gave, let me tell you something. I'm gonna testify. Nobody, I gotta stress this so heavily. There is nothing like a Black woman to speak life into you on your, it doesn't matter if you have a good day or a low day. There is something about a Black woman when she speaks to you, bruh. He better than me. Tears have been flowing down my eyes. The fact that she sat there and said, "You hold your head up, you are doing great," and just the level of appreciation and encouragement, as many people said, it gave Black auntie grandma vibes, and I'm all for it. But I'm just saying, a Black woman and again, people are gonna be like, "Well, Will, really?" I said, "Yeah, only a Black woman can do that, dude. Only a Black woman, in my opinion, can turn around and sit there and take your worst or best day and make it better and make you matter." And in that guy's case, the head coach Liam Cohen, in his case, you could tell his whole demeanor changed. Not because someone's going to ask him about, what about this player? What about this call? The fact that one reporter took it upon herself to look at the man as a human being and say, "You know what? Let me give you some words of encouragement." And if you ain't noticed, that man smiled, them eyes. Look, we all know, look, every guy's had those eyes watered up, want to smile because you feel it right here. You don't want to let the tears flow, but it's like you when you are seen, only a Black woman can do that. But shout out to Lynn Jones. I know the sports world was like, oh, we're not getting into negativity on that. We will sit there and say, simply put, it does not cost nothing to be kind. To be kind, to be nice. The world can use more of it. It's that effing simple. But that's going to do it for this podcast, guys. Thank you all for watching, for liking, for letting people know this is live. I certainly appreciate that as we still move along in 2026. Shameless plugging as we usually do before we do get out of here, guys. Shout out to APR TV. Why? Because How the Frack We Got Here can be seen on APR TV. Definitely check out alwayspressrecord.com or APR TV on everywhere that's got apps. You will not be disappointed. Also, blurrstation.com. You've heard me talk about blurrstation.com for almost going on 2 years now. It is a streaming site with content for us, by us. Movies, television, animation. You can find it there. $10.99 a month to stream Blur Station, and Blur Station can be streamed on all smart devices. Definitely check it out. Also on YouTube, check us out. How the Frack We Got Here. How the Frack We Got Here podcast. Simply type that in and you'll basically see my little mug. Definitely like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button for every time that we do go live or any new episodes are uploaded. Again, none of this cannot be done without you guys. So definitely like, share, and follow. Make sure the notifications button turned on because, again, we're trying to make the algorithm We are trying to make the YouTube algorithm like us. So definitely, guys, jump on board. We'd appreciate it. Also on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, we can be found. Definitely check out How the Frack We Got Here there. Like and share, follow, guys. As the audio, if you do want to do audio only, can be found there. And of course, the video will be on YouTube itself as well as TikTok. Again, like, share, and follow. And I definitely would appreciate that. Also, not only myself, guys, there's other podcasters that I do work with as well. Definitely check out Blurred's Eye View, Geek by Heart, Room Full of Blurs, Lord of the Culture, Tafara TV, Fresh Nails Pressed by Z, Navy Montel, BirdCon Speak, Showquo. All these guys can be found on YouTube as well as a page that I've searched on. I have got to get a page together what actually shows everybody. But definitely like, share, and follow them as they are all doing different things in the new year. And trust me, you will not be disappointed. And again, guys, like I said, we are 10 months away from the midterms. Democrats, the ball's in your court. You have 10 months to show us why you guys deserve the House and the Senate. You have 10 months to show us what you will do if you do have unilateral power to remove Trump. You have 10 months to show us whether or not you're going to be the same old, or you're going to be bold and let the women lead and become more progressive. You have 10 months, Democrats, to show us exactly what you're going to do, or you're going to damn us all. One of the two. But Again, guys, be nice, be kind, protect your strength, protect your peace, check on your friends, go outside and do something fun. Take your mind off the world for a second. Enjoy peace and happiness however you are. At the same time, if you need to take, if you need to lay, if you need to knock one back, smoke one up, that's on you. I'm more of a whiskey person, but hey, on the cannabis side of the world, go nuts. But yeah, that being said, guys, last thing I'll say about how the Frack got here, it's all about staying informed. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel. We are simply giving you all the information on how to make up your own mind. We just provide a lot of perspective that goes along with it. We do better as society once we're informed. We're progressive. We move forward. We try to right the wrongs of our past, making decisions now that we should have done back then. Like electing our first black woman to the Supreme Court, electing our first black woman as the Federal Reserve governor, and hopefully one day electing our first black woman to be the first person to be called Madam President. All great things. We don't learn from history. We are doomed to repeat it. That's what we keep asking ourselves. Why does everything go up on our paycheck? Why are we electing different politicians but still the same old game in Congress? And most importantly, how the frack we got here. Also, happy belated Founders Day to the brothers of Phi Beta Sigma Incorporated. Yeah, I know I'm a little late. I apologize, guys. Been a long week. But again, shout out to my brothers over there. But again, guys, please take care of yourselves. Look out for each other, and I promise we'll get to this. Take care, guys. We are back here next Wednesday. Live long and prosper.